Your life.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Simon Dixon Live. And have an important announcement today, and going to be sharing with you how you can get further updates, but also we have reached the end of an era. So we're going to be covering that today, and we'll be going through some of the investment opportunities and investment returns that have been achieved recently that have been keeping me very busy, and also what the next stages are like. So we'll just wait for a few more people to come in. While we're waiting for a few more people, welcome everybody in the live chat. Why don't you tell us where you are tuning in from, and as we're a few people to come in, a few announcements just while we're waiting. And that is that if you would like to get your question answered today, today is going to be the last AMA that I'm doing of this kind. So today is your last shot to get those questions answered in this format. And if you want to get your questions answered, then we used a software called Slido, sli.do. There's no account needed, and you should see it on your screen shortly. Azad will be pulling it up, and Azad's going to be moderating and taking the top questions. You could upvote other people's questions if you would like to see them answered, or you can ask your own questions. We won't get through them all, but we'll get through the ones that are on the top. To get there, just go to sli.do and in the box put, I think, SD8. Is that correct, Azad?
That's correct.
SD8, and it will take you here, or you can just scan the QR code, or if the link is being shared in the live chat, I'm sure someone is sharing that with you to get there. Really simple. And so I wanted to give a quick update. I missed last week. Just been ultra busy with Bank to the Future investors, Retirement Plan B investors, and we've reached a completely oversubscribed stage right now where we have a ginormous waiting list of people looking to create new accounts on BnkToTheFuture.com. So the team have been around the clock hiring. If you are looking for a job in the Bitcoin and blockchain space or the investing space, then head over to BnkToTheFuture.com and hit on that careers page. We're hiring technical people at the moment. We're also expanding out the investor relations support team and all sorts of other stuff because we just cannot handle the amount that is coming in at the moment. So much so that we had to take a bit of a break with putting new pitches live because we were just focused on delivering returns to investors that have experienced incredible growth through the companies that they've been investing in. And also look out for a press release that we'll be making later this week about a new partnership with a very large, the largest exchange in crypto. So we're very excited to be announcing that. And so look out for that, and we'll make sure that you get further updates on that. But I've got to focus more on our investors. And so I am returning to the show that I used to do rather than the Simon Dixon Live. If we look back at the journey that we've shared together, we were approximately 6,000 subscribers on the Simon Dixon YouTube channel. Azad came along and we took it up, we 10x that together up to 60,000. I still think just with the content we got and we've created together so far, we can take that up to 600,000 and beyond. But I need to take a little bit of a break just to focus on our investors at Bank to the Future. So I'm going to be moving over to the BnkToTheFuture.com YouTube channel. And as of next week, this slot will be for the BF Live, the Bank to the Future live show. The BF Live show is really dedicated to investors, those that are looking to build portfolios. And we've got so many important announcements coming up that we want to make a new announcement each week of what we've been up to over the last quarters during this phase. So I'm going to be moving over to Bank to the Future Live, BF Live. So if you are not a subscriber of the BnkToTheFuture.com YouTube channel, that is where all of the new updates are going to be going. So head over to that. You can see it on the screen right now. Hit subscribe, hit bell symbol, and hit all. and we will make sure that you get those notifications. This was really just focused on investing, build a portfolio, and many of the companies that I've invested in and that other investors can co-invest with me in many of the deals on BnkToTheFuture.com. And also, as we get ready for the next phase of Retirement Plan B, where we're very excited to be launching to the beta group of 500 people that did and completed and started their journey building their retirement plans using the exact same strategies that I've used to invest $1 million of my personal savings this year. And I will be adding to that a lot more as well. We had 500 people join us and they are building their retirement plan Bs. And as a result of that, we put together a new product that we'll be launching to allow people to automate the process of contributing to their retirement plan Bs. And we'll be doing that in beta with the beta group of 500 people that registered. Once we've delivered that, many of you are asking when we're going to be doing our second round of retirement plan B online coaching programs. We'll look to do that towards the end of Q2, early Q3. And so many people, we've had so many partners reach out that are looking to bring this program out. So we're really excited about that and just bringing more and more people into the industry and giving them opportunities to make their version of exactly how I'm investing in the current market and the Great Depression of the 2020s. So that's the special announcement. What I wanted to do is cover a few things on some of the things that I've been working on over the last 3 months, some of the updates in terms of the deals that have been going through, so that if you want to join us on BF Live next week, you can get a little taster of the types of things that we're discussing. Now, I will also ensure that if anything really big happens, any big events, we can continue to do our emergency broadcasts and special announcements on the Simon Dixon channel when they're related to the economy, finance, whatever it may be. Then I'll make sure that you still stay updated. So keep those subscriptions. I'll be making sure that I give those special broadcasts, but the weekly is moving over to the Bank to the Future YouTube channel. Some of the things that we've been working on, many people have been asking when we're going to be launching new deals on Bank to the Future. We took approximately a 3-month break in order to focus just on some of the returns that are being delivered. To give you a little bit of taster, we completed the funding round a couple of years back for Securitize, and they have just recently been closing their round. We can't disclose the valuation, but if you're an existing investor in Securitize, you'll be very happy to see the details. And immediately their Series B funding round has just been announced, and they're completely oversubscribed just from the existing investors. So we'll be making sure existing investors get that opportunity. We've also had a first at Bank to the Future, which is one of the companies that we invested in and made available on the platform. Coinbase has completed its public offering. So we've been working on allowing our investors to swap their private shares for public shares, and the price of the IPO fluctuates obviously, but approximately $100 billion. So congratulations to all of the Coinbase investors. And we will be delivering to you the process shortly for swapping out your private shares for the public shares as soon as Coinbase and the team deliver those returns to you. We've obviously got 3 IPOs in the horizon that have made announcements that they're looking to follow Coinbase. And our investors invested in the private rounds a lot earlier. Companies like Robinhood, they've announced their IPO. I know that there was a lot of controversy over the GameStop scenario, and we covered that in previous episodes on Simon Dixon Live. And we also have Ripple Labs that made an announcement. And that's Ripple Labs, the company, the equity, via one of our special structures at Bank to the Future. And also we had an incredible announcement from Kraken. So Kraken did a funding round on our platform where we invested at a $20 million valuation, and they just made the announcement that they're going to be completing a pre-IPO round at approximately $20 billion. So incredible amount of returns that have been delivered to the investors, and many of the investors that invested in the early funds like Bitcoin Capital One are going to be benefiting from these different things. It's incredible because in Bitcoin Capital One, it was such a long time. It was approximately 2015. Wow, 6 years ago that we launched that company. The company was investing in Bitcoin mining and private equity. It paid out over 1,000 Bitcoin in dividends to investors. And now some of the investors logged in, and from a small investment, I saw some people that were withdrawing. They just left the dividends that were paid in Bitcoin, over 3 Bitcoin from a small investment that they made in Bitcoin Capital One. So congratulations on these incredible numbers that just unparalleled in the traditional investment space. We also had another one, Exodus. So Exodus is one of our companies that we funded way back. I think it was either 2015, 2016. I think it was 2016. They just completed a $75 million round. We are working with them on, that was just to US investors. We're working with them on their non-US investor round. Hopefully we'll be able to bring something like that. But those that were already investors, they got a 158x return on the amount that they originally invested in that early funding round. So it's really, really exciting. And we just didn't want to launch new funding rounds until we delivered on some of these returns, increase the capacity of the team. And that brings us to those are all primary market deals. For those of you not too familiar, primary market means that it's a company that lists their platform and sells some of their shares on the platform. We also have secondary market deals. So when you go over to BnkToTheFuture, you can hit on the start trading button. And there you can buy and sell from other investors looking to sell some of their shares in some of the companies that have been more successful. There's obviously high risk, high returns here. So many companies, I told you some of the really exciting ones, but there are also companies that don't make it and end up going bust. So you need to diversify. But the amount of volume on our secondary market has significantly increased. And those of you not familiar with the BnkToTheFuture token, it has experienced over 1,000% increase in price over the last year, simply due to the increase in the volume of people that are paying their fees. So there's a few things that the BnkToTheFuture token does. It's for our investors looking to build a portfolio. It's a utility token. And what it allows people to do when we launch new deals on the platform, for example, Securitizer just got sold out right away. Well, it's because if you stake, for example, 10,000 BnkToTheFuture tokens on the platform and you hold them on the platform, you get 48 hours priority access to all the deals. One of the very popular ones is Celsius made an announcement that they're going to be launching their next funding round on BnkToTheFuture in less than a year, giving the investors that invested last year through BnkToTheFuture in Celsius almost a 25x return in valuation just in less than a year. And so many people are becoming BnkToTheFuture premium members, which means that they have to go out and buy 10,000 BnkToTheFuture tokens, deposit them to the platform, and then they get 48 hours priority access on the Celsius deal. Now, Celsius will sell out very fast. It's oversubscribed already. Unfortunately, US investors, only 99 due to crazy draconian 1941 securities laws, mean that only 99 US investors are able to participate. It's not as restricted from the non-US side. But that's why many people become BnkToTheFuture premium members and stake and hold those 10,000 BnkToTheFuture tokens. Also, if you hold 100,000 BnkToTheFuture tokens, every investment you make on the primary market, you get a kickback on that. The price of the token has appreciated so much that we have to actually decrease the reward that you get. But those that invested early, then they would be getting a higher reward and the 1,000% increase in the token price that we experienced this year. And so it's great to see that. But why this always led is that the secondary market, if you pay your trading fees using Bank to the Future tokens, which almost all of the investors do, then you get a 50% discount on those trading fees. And so many people have been acquiring Bank to the Future tokens so that they can get the 50% discount. And as the volume of people that are looking to buy and sell some of these shares in some of the most successful companies in Bitcoin and crypto, they have been using Bank to the Future tokens, and so therefore the demand is increasing on that. So congratulations to everybody that has been patiently waiting. As I've always said, my philosophy has always been that it's the patient investor that succeeds, and that has always been my experience from dealing with over 140,000 investors at Bank to the Future now. And when we originally started this journey, I think it was over a year ago when, we started saying, right, we need to support people in this shifting time in financial history that I called the Great Depression of the 2020s. And we released that 4 3-part video series that you can still get at retirementplanb.com. We started this journey, and I was always saying it's the patient long-term investor that succeeds. You need to be hedged and diversify for different outcomes, and that is for inflation, deflation, economic growth, economic decline, and bull markets in crypto as a result of traditional financial system, debt-based Ponzi schemes that we're experiencing in the traditional financial sector. So you can still get that free 4-part video series, still as relevant today as it's ever been. We'll make sure that is available for you. And you can also pre-register for those that want to be a part of the next round of Retirement Plan B customers later this year by going to retirementplanb.com to get the 4 3-part video series. You can go to the final video where you can pre-register, or you can just go straight to retirementplanb.com/sign-up. So those are all the announcements that we're making. So as of next week, it will be on the Bank to the Future YouTube channel, and we will be going more focused and more deeper into specific investments that I'm making on BnkToTheFuture.com, and some of the portfolio companies that are changing the face and just really contributed to bringing Bitcoin to the stage where it's over $1 trillion in market cap, and the crypto market is over $2 trillion, which is just an incredible achievement. And it was really many of the companies that were funded on Bank to the Future by our investor community that led to building this ecosystem of companies that has now just really taken on a life of its own, as every single financial product gets disrupted by many alternative options. And so it's just really, really been an incredible journey and really, really great to see. So now that I'm done with all of that, if you haven't done so already, if you've enjoyed this journey, if you've got good content, do me a favor. Just while I take a quick water break, hit the like button on this video. Do that for me, because that will get more people into seeing this video. Do share it if you can as well, because it's the last one, and we're about to move over into the final AMA session where I'm going to take as many questions as I can that are on the Slido board. So while I just take a quick break, do me a favor, hit that like button. That really helps us. And you have helped us get from 6,000 to over 60,000, and the additional likes are going to help us get to the next phase. So really appreciate all of that. So Azad, I'm going to take a quick water break. Do you want to pull up the Slido board, and we'll get through as many questions as we can in the final Ask Me Anything.
And just a correction there, for those who want to sign up and register for the next round, for those who are interested in the online coaching program, it's retirementplanb.com/sign_up.
_up. Okay, thanks, Azad. Awesome. So what do we got?
All right, let's get the first question up. And that is, what is the future of Bank to the Future? Are you guys looking to sell off your securities, lending business, and focus on RPB? Question from Anon.
I will divert that question to next week. If you tune in for BF Live, then we'll be giving an update on the roadmap, what we've been up to, and many of the exciting announcements, and some press releases should be going out this week on some of the features that we've been building. And we'll give you an update next week. Also, Azad, one thing we're going to be doing is we've got to make sure before we do the BF Live next week that we organize that shareholder update. This all began where we have over 850 shareholders that invested in our parent company, BF Global. And we're going to make sure that we do a dedicated shareholder update just for shareholders, so that we can make sure that we update you on that. So that's something we got to organize next week, Azad.
Noted. All right, let's see. Next question is from Mark. Much talk on Biden's cap gains hike. How probable is the UK and EU to follow suit?
Every country is going to follow increasing taxes. Governments are broke. Governments have been funding through inflation, through quantitative easing for as long as they can. And they need to collect as much tax as they possibly can. So capital gains tax increases, look forward to it everywhere. Income tax increases. One of the forecasts in the book, let me see if I can grab it. BnkToTheFuture, I talked about in the final chapter, 5 outcomes. This was the very first published book in the world to include Bitcoin. And you can get a free digital copy of it. You don't need to buy the physical book on Amazon. But if you want a free digital copy of it, then head over to retirementplanb.com/book. But I talked about 5 outcomes in the final chapter. And one of them was a movement towards 100% tax. That's an interesting scenario that was discussed if we don't get a radical banking reform. I do think that we will have radical banking reform through the issuance of central bank digital currencies, as I talked in many of my really earlier videos. And I think that they're going to be issued as a function of banks that go through the next systemic risk event, as some of their balance sheets expose some of the risks that many of those banks have been taking. So I do believe that increased taxes is to look forward to everybody. One of the real reasons why with our Retirement Plan B customers, we spent so much time on making sure that they get legal, compliant, tax efficient structures when they're building their retirement plans. So yeah, looking forward to increased taxes everywhere. So make sure that you're starting to invest in tax planning, tax efficiency, so that you can rest well knowing that you're paying the correct level of taxes rather than the extortion that everyone else is subject to.
Okay, next question is from Chris. The world is on the road to recovery with vaccines being rolled out across the globe and little mention of inflation from government officials. House prices are up. Have you got all this wrong? Are we into the good times? If not, why not?
We are in good times for as long as the central bank digital currencies and quantitative easing can continue to stimulate a debt-based Ponzi scheme. So in terms of have I got all this wrong, we are already in the Great Depression of the 2020s as a result of the ginormous wealth inequality and unsustainable debt that has been enslaved upon people. Now, the rich are getting richer, so those that own assets are getting at the expense of those that don't own assets, because assets are being propped up by quantitative easing and stimulus. But you don't get growth until you get real economic growth. You get fake growth. Now, fake growth can go on for a long time, which is why I talked about in Retirement Plan B, never bet against the central banks. If you're listening to people like the doomsdays that say the dollar's going to crash right away, and all that stuff, I do have my preparation for that scenario, because the dollar will crash and fail at some stage. But that's where you need to invest in more eventualities, because you can get broke waiting for the central banks and governments in their movement from capitalism to socialism. And that is what the expense is. This is a shift from moving away from free market capitalism to having bigger and bigger governments and bigger control of currencies through central bank digital currencies. And that is what's stimulating the economy. And that is what's causing the economic growth effect And you need to be prepared for that. And that was the third part of the 3-part video series on retirementplanb.com, was going through how to be ready for that. Now, at some stage, we will get the monetary renegotiation. And that monetary renegotiation is where you're prepared for different eventualities. And that's always what I've been talking about. Next question.
Okay, next question is from Anonymous. What do you think of Michael Saylor's thesis outlined in his debate versus Frank Giestra, that Bitcoin will actually be good for the USD, that the USD will run on the Bitcoin network and wipe out most small currencies?
I'm not familiar with the exact thing, but I can try and guess what is happening here. So I guess one of the things we could talk about, I'm sorry, I haven't actually watched the theory or what Michael Saylor's referring to there, but maybe he's talking about an eventuality where governments that miss out on the opportunity of supporting the growth of the Bitcoin ecosystem by trying to go for a ban, and then other countries just take the opportunity and then they eventually come round to it, as we have seen time and time again in China and India with the flip-flopping back and forth of it's banned, it's not banned, it's banned, it's not banned, it's banned, it's not banned. But remember, China was the country in 2013 that allowed on their public television to release documentaries on Bitcoin when the government control everything that happens on those TVs. Now, that might be strategic. It might be strategic because the currency that gets to lose the most out of Bitcoin getting wider and wider adoption is the incumbent, and the incumbent is the dollar. However, governments and central banks can decide to get on the party. They can decide to add Bitcoin to their central bank balance sheets and do what essentially Bulgaria experienced, which is when they confiscated a ginormous chunk of Bitcoin from a criminal enterprise, they ended up with Bitcoin that is worth more than their entire national debt. Now, corrupt governments stole that money, but every central bank and every government has the opportunity of benefiting from the growth of Bitcoin, just like you do, just like companies do, and just like pension funds do, and just like institutions do. So it's a free market. Governments can get involved in that. And they can, in fact, decide to protect the growth of their fiat currencies as well. Now, I'm not sure of the specific theory. I'd love to check that out and understand a bit more. But maybe if anyone could share a link in the comment section to this, then I'll spend a little bit of time, invest a little time, and try to answer this in any future broadcasts that we do. Next question.
Okay, next question from Anonymous. As many tax authorities consider the purchasing of goods and services to be taxable events, does this not render cryptos unworkable as functioning mediums of exchange?
This is a very, very interesting point. So most governments around the world are not treating Bitcoin as a currency. They're treating it as property. So when you treat it as property, it means that if the value of it goes up and you sell it or you trade it or you do something with it, like put it in a smart contract in DeFi, then you create taxable events. So those taxable events are treated as either a capital gain or a capital loss in most jurisdictions, unless you're investing in tax efficient structures, in which case you can still use it as unit of account and medium of exchange, should you choose. But the reason that Bitcoin was never really used as a currency, unit of account, medium of exchange, in those that are looking to make short-term expenses is because the volatility of it, when you're being priced in one currency and trying to pay in another currency, can mean that you have to become a trader and speculate on that. And if that speculation goes wrong, you can't afford to pay things. So most people need to be paid in the same currency that they are pricing goods in to not experience those currency risks. Also, Gresham's law, good money crowds out bad money. So what most people ended up doing as they started to experience the demand and the supply demand for Bitcoin to change is they started to spend their money that they think is going down in value, i.e. fiat, and save their money that they think is going up in value. Now, eventually the supply and demand of Bitcoin can reach a stage where it truly does act as a store of value rather than a speculative store of value. Gold acts as a store of value, and it means that you don't make any money out of holding gold in most cases. You normally only preserve your wealth, which is why the wealthy store their value in gold, because they want to preserve their wealth. But if you want to try and increase your wealth, then you have to speculate. So Bitcoin is what's known as a speculative store of value. Now, eventually, if Bitcoin does get worldwide adoption, then it can operate just like gold. And this is when all the naysayers and no coiners will finally come in, because they're waiting for everything to be certain, no uncertainty, which is why you get lower returns, because you're taking less risk. The rules of the markets, when free markets still existed, was that the higher the risk that you take, the higher the returns. It's like we were talking about BnkToTheFuture earlier. The higher the risk you take because you're investing in earlier stage companies, the higher returns, versus if you're waiting for the public markets because they're less risky then, so therefore the lower the returns. The same with when Bitcoin becomes a complete store of value rather than a speculative store of value. It can be more stable and act more like a unit of account and median of exchange too. But so those are the different types of forces that you'd expect to see. But yes, when there's less gains, then you pay less tax. But at the moment, it's being treated as an asset class rather than a currency, but with unique properties where you can spend money that you own, and you can own money that you can own with Bitcoin as well. So yes, the tax treatment is that, but it's mostly been treated like that anyway. And other countries don't treat it like that. And you can also always invest in making sure that you're doing things tax efficiently, so that it doesn't do that. But yes, when you spend your Bitcoin in most countries, it is treated as property. They see it as you making a sale and then purchasing those goods. Same with if you convert it to a stable coin or any of those things. In most countries, they see that as you selling some fictitious dollars, for example, and then buying a stable coin. So that's how most people are treating it. Not a tax advisor, have to get your own tax advice just from experience of some countries, depends on your circumstance, depends on whether you, which country you're in, and how you're actually investing, whether it's as an individual, through a retirement plan, through a tax efficient structure, through a trust, it will all be treated differently. Next question.
Okay, next question is from Paul. HSBC have now banned crypto purchases and even buying Coinbase stock. Do you think this is a sign of things to come? And if so, what can we do?
So banks have always been hostile to Bitcoin, but banks are less hostile today than they have ever been. Banks have always been putting restrictions. So if you receive money from the proceeds of selling Bitcoin, then if you don't have all your source of funds and source of wealth documents, then they make your life very hard. And one of the things they do is just say, if something comes from this certain bank that works with Coinbase, then we will just close your account. And I have had HSBC accounts closed in my time. I get less accounts closed now than ever. So it is still a problem, but this is not a sign of things to come. This is a reversal of what has been happening. It's never been more crypto-friendly banks than there are today than there were in the past. And so this drives money into an area investing in, which is financial technology, challenger banks. That's why I originally started this mission. Before Bitcoin was created, before BnkToTheFuture became an investment company, we were looking to build a non-fractional reserve bank so that we could later, this word challenger bank came along. But this is a really, really interesting area where alternative banks are coming along and crypto-friendly banks are coming along. One of the companies I'm investor in that worked at did a funding round on BnkToTheFuture, on Kraken, has actually become a bank and is rolling out their banking services. So sign of things to come, legacy banks will become more and more resistant. Now, which ones are the difference? You have banks like HSBC, which are monopolistic clearing banks that directly clear into the central banks. You want to look for crypto-friendly banks. You want to look for private banks. They're still in the game. Now, private banks, you have to be high net worth to work with them. But there are other crypto-friendly banks, so you have to look a bit more out of this sphere. So in answer to your question, is this a sign of things to come? It's the exact opposite. But you will get these banks that will do that. And if they decide that they're not letting people buy shares in a NASDAQ listed company, then that's just ridiculous. And hope customers will start to actually, but it's just a sign of they don't give a shit about your deposits. They don't want your deposits. They have a license to create a digital currency called the pound, the euro, the dollar every time they issue a loan, and they're playing the debt-based Ponzi scheme. They don't care about your deposits. Next question.
Okay, question from Anonymous. The US central banking digital currency will run alongside the dollar at some point. I think the dollar will be inflated away. Where does this leave Bitcoin? And do you think you will be able to convert your Bitcoin into CBDC as the dollar will become devalued?
Certainly. So crypto exchanges have been working for a long time on the conversion between fiat and Bitcoin. And that's why many of the Bank to the Future investors became wealthy, because they invested in many of these companies. So the fiat and on-ramps and off-ramps is there. Will they be programmed into central bank digital currency? I think the convertibility, if you provide all the documentation with on-chain KYC and all this stuff, is clear where this is all going. Of course, there will be convertibility between Bitcoin and central bank digital currencies. And central bank digital currencies, the supply could end up dwarfing the legacy currency, but more likely banks go bust. And therefore, it leads to the destruction of digital US dollars created as debt in a deleveraging event, and is replaced by debt-free central bank digital currencies. So I think that answers your question. What does it mean for Bitcoin? It highlights the use case of Bitcoin. What does Bitcoin do? Bitcoin allows you to own your own money. Central bank digital currencies, you will have to download the wallet, and you will have to opt in to the removal of privacy, surveillance, compulsory vaccines in order to use that, vaccine passports, all sorts of stuff that over time will be added to the central bank digital currency, algorithmic, artificial intelligence led to behaviors. Some of it will be very, very convenient for you, but it will also become an Orwellian nightmare as well. But you also won't be able to spend your money, because there will be ultra censorship in these artificial intelligence-led algorithms. So it will be guilty until proven innocent. You won't be able to spend your money until you can prove that they came from the proceeds of taxable, legitimate wealth. How do you think they're going to make up all this tax? Well, they're going to integrate tax collection into these central bank digital currencies, and they're going to be able to require documentation in them all on chain. Or if they do a blockchain, I don't think they will. I think they'll go for ultra control instead. And make sure, and jurisdictions will be fighting over the tax. They'll automate where 3 jurisdictions will take the tax out of your account, and then you got to try and fight and claim it back off the other 2, because you did a virtual transaction. You were in one country, you did it on Zoom, and the servers were in another country, and then you transacted with a central bank digital currency with someone in another country. They're going to algorithmically program into the automated tax collection. So as more and more mistakes are made with these algorithms, people are going to want to spend their own money, which is the second thing that Bitcoin does in a peer-to-peer transaction. And the third thing it does is it combats against the vast increase in the supply of these central bank digital currencies, because Bitcoin has a fixed supply. So it increases the demand for the 3 drivers of Bitcoin adoption outside of the speculative short-term use cases of people trying to use it to get wealthy quickly. Next question.
Okay, question from Gupadu. Caitlin Long mentions that when the stock market fluctuates between 40 to 50% intraday trading, the end is near. From your understanding of hyperinflationary events in countries in the past, is this something that happens near the end?
Caitlin Long is somebody that I've met on several occasions, no respect, and you should listen to all of her work. And another person been working for a long time on legislative changes in order to bring crypto-friendly banks and non-hypothecated, non-fractional reserve banks to the world, which is a mission that we started 15 years ago before the birth of Bitcoin. and great to see some of the progress. I haven't tracked that particular case study of looking at the volatility before the beginning of the ends and some of those. And so I can't really comment. I haven't looked at that, but I'm sure that Caitlin has done her research. And it's definitely something probably worth looking at. But I will disclaimer that I don't look for calling the top or the bottom. I don't try a market time. I prepare myself for every outcome so that whatever happens, I don't need to worry. And that was really the premise behind the free 4-part video series on retirementplanb.com. Next question.
Okay, question from Anonymous. There is a leaked document from Canadian Parliament LPC meeting stating there's going to be a worldwide economic collapse Q4 2021. How should I adjust my investment portfolio?
I can't give you financial advice because it depends on your individual situation. I don't know your individual portfolio. I don't know your financial situation, your commitments, your insurance, your appetite towards risk. Many different things that come in, your obligations to pay for college fees, whatever it may be, your mortgages, your liabilities. So what I said is the same as what I was suggesting at the beginning of this year, which is retirementplanb.com. I reveal exactly how I'm investing, and that is preparing for different outcomes rather than market timing. Market timers lose all the time. Imagine people like Peter Schiff that have been saying that the dollar's going to collapse for how long? And the central banks are about to explode. But imagine the amount of gold and Bitcoin he could have made in the time that he was telling everybody about the doomsday scenario. I do believe that Peter Schiff will be right in the end. There will be doomsday scenarios. But in the meantime, you can go bankrupt waiting for it because you're following the doomsdayers. So I don't do market timing, and I prepare for different eventualities so that when it happens, ready, relaxed, calm, looking forward to that. And that really is what I wanted for all of my followers, to be in an unshakable situation where you are, as you know, alive at one of the most exciting times in financial history, and you're ready for the right side of that change, rather than being a trader, paying all their taxes, speculating on when the tops and bottoms are, and eventually losing your shirt to the insiders, as do 90% of all the market tops and bottom people that are trying to call it, rather than actually just building diversified portfolios and acting like professional investors. That's what I want for you.
Okay, next question from RPB member. As an RPB participant, I'm wondering if the US will be able to participate in the mandate.
So we're currently launching our next product, which is the Retirement Plan B Portfolio Builder, which is an automated way of building the Retirement Plan B portfolio. We are currently going through getting it signed off by multiple parties. We've engaged KPMG as a tax advisor in different jurisdictions like Australia, and then we've got others in US, UK, a UK barrister that is putting a legal opinion upon that, so that we can make sure that this is a rock solid content in current laws. Things can change, not tax advice. And one of the things that we are about to get back is our top US law firm giving us the definition of whether they consider this to be a security or not. If it is a security, then we have the perfect structure at BnkToTheFuture to make it available to US accredited investors, but it means that it may not be available to US non-accredited investors under that structure. However, go back to Retirement Plan B, we can look at other structures that are available without the automated structure, but it looks like the automated structure, if it is classified as needing to be sold in compliance with securities laws, then you're going to need to have a certified account on BnkToTheFuture.com in order to qualify for that. There is a big waiting list to do that, so make sure that you're verified on BnkToTheFuture.com and also have completed the accreditation and certification in order to qualify for that, should that be the result, but it's highly likely that that's looking like the result is. So thank you for joining the Retirement Plan B, and hope you got a lot out of it.
Okay, next question is from Mauricio Rave. What does the future hold for privacy chains and DEXs in the next couple of years?
I think that privacy chains are providing a vital utility of enhancing privacy for those that need for perfect, that need privacy, which we all do. But I do think the future of privacy tokens is that they won't be allowed to be listed on centralized exchanges as we go through more regulatory crackdowns. The regulations this year have been relentless. As somebody that operates a registered company that needs to comply with many of these anti-money laundering regulations, the user experience for the onboarding and offboarding is unfortunately getting worse and worse. And the regulatory crackdown, I do believe eventually that crypto exchanges won't be able to trade this, which means that they are 100% utility tokens that may not be easily converted into and out of, which is where DEXs, stable coins, and all sorts of interesting innovation comes along there. I am forecasting a regulatory crackdown on decentralized exchanges, which doesn't mean that they will be shut down. I do believe that they will have to integrate regulations into their protocols, on-chain, know your customer, anti-money laundering regulations, all sorts of stuff. So enjoy it while it's there. But stable coins are the way that people are doing that. And we covered the different risks and various things in other videos on the Simon Dixon YouTube channel on stable coins. And one of the videos recently was a few weeks back is Tether a scam? And I gave you my perspective on that. I went through different things. So I do think in the end, you have security tokens, DEXs, on-chain regulations, and centralized exchanges not being able to support privacy coins. So that's what I think we're going to end up at.
Okay, question from Chris. At what point will Bitcoin be seen as a competitor to the USD? What is the outcome of this?
Bitcoin could be seen as a competitor to the US dollar when things are priced in Bitcoin and people use it as a median of exchange and unit of account, as well as a store of value. That's when you may see Bitcoin compete to the US dollar. The thing is, by the time that happens, we may not have US dollar being the stable currency or the short-term stable currency, I should say. Long-term is devalued at an incredible scale, worse than any scammy in token in cryptocurrency has in terms of loss of purchasing power. But that's when you start to see it as competition because at the moment, people don't decide, am I going to buy this with dollars or am I going to buy this with Bitcoin? They say, I ain't paying for this with my Bitcoin. I want to get rid of my dollars and keep my Bitcoin. So when things are priced in Bitcoin, when people think in Bitcoin, when people use it as more of a unit of account and median of exchange, which means you think in Bitcoin, and you decide to spend Bitcoin because it's more of a store of value rather than a speculative store of value, then I think you might see competition with dollar. But at that time, you might be more comparing it to gold or other fiat currencies or a world global fiat currency backed by a basket of assets as we get some of this monetary renegotiations that I talked about coming forward.
Question from Leslie. If the financial crisis gets too out of control, could they instigate a war to compensate?
Anything's possible. And, fiat currencies and quantitative easing are the primary reason why wars exist, because they are funded by the debt-based Ponzi scheme. So certainly, why not? It's not something that I'm, experienced. I've never been through wars myself. Other people have experienced that. So I'm it's not really a subject that I'm looking at when a war is. But one thing you could do, I went through financial weapons and mass destruction on a whole video just like this, where it was called World War III and Financial Weapons and Mass Destruction. You might want to check out that video. Next question.
Okay, question from Anonymous. I would like to implement blockchain into my company. Where do I start?
Well, start with what problem are you trying to solve, and does a blockchain solve it? Many people think that blockchains solve every problem in the world, but actually blockchains are pretty expensive, inefficient databases that require a ginormous network of supercomputers in order to back up every transaction. So If you need some kind of censorship resistance, if you need certain use cases that are being built, then you can start looking at whether blockchain serves that better than other technical solutions. Banks tried to do this throughout 2014, and they tried to take out Bitcoin and say that it's all about blockchain. And still to this day, they haven't implemented anything of value using a blockchain. So it depends on the use case and what you're trying to solve in order for me to be able to answer that question. But there's an incredible amount of brain power out there that are building and implementing lots of different tools to make it easy for business to solve different use cases using blockchains. And we're really starting to converge on interoperability as well. Really, I'd start with just accepting payments. If you're in a business where you have reserves, then maybe consider holding some of it as a store of value, like many of the companies like Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy is and Tesla are. But obviously, if you run a very tight cash flow business, then you probably end up needing to convert those as well.
Okay, we've got about 9 minutes. So there are quite a few questions on there, but we need more people upvoting. We've got very few upvotes happening and lots of questions coming in. So in that case, I'm actually going to try and choose one which I think will be appropriate. I've tried signing up for your investment program through your website, but the only suggested profiles offered are those who earn over 200,000 a year. Is there any way I can be an investor without making a certain amount annually?
Yeah, so there's different types of qualifying investors, and we have to comply with securities laws in your local jurisdiction. So depending on your jurisdiction, the criteria is slightly different. What we will be announcing over the coming weeks is our first set of product offerings that is available for non-qualifying investors. So we're very excited to announce that. We've been working very hard on different applications to make these different services possible. But when it comes to equity, we have to comply with securities laws, and regulators set the rules, and they're set country by country. And so we have to restrict it to people that your regulator says is not able to invest in such high risk, high return opportunities. So look at the different criteria, and unfortunately, if you don't meet it in that country, then you have to wait for different products that we'll be launching that are available to people that don't meet that criteria. But the good news is many of that will be coming soon.
What happens when and if no one wants to sell their Bitcoins for fiat anymore? Question from Noob Gatel.
So if nobody wants to sell, which won't happen, there's always a price, there's always a circumstance at which somebody wants to sell. But if nobody wants to sell, then there's people that need to buy Bitcoin can only place a bid on an exchange. And a bid means that you place an order to buy. And if nobody's selling, then it means that nobody takes the bid. And so other people that want to buy Bitcoin put another bid on top. So I used to be a market maker on the London Stock Exchange, and we used to play those bids. And what happens is the price that you see in Bitcoin is a function of all those bids across all the different markets that make a price in Bitcoin. And it just means the price keeps going up as long as somebody wants to buy Bitcoin and no one's willing to sell. There is always a price at which somebody is willing to sell, or their life circumstance needs to sell, or there's arbitrage traders that are looking to take a quick mix between the two. So there is, of course, situations where less and less people want to sell, and that means price goes up, and that's what happens. That's how markets work.
Okay, question from Anonymous. What are your thoughts on the World Economic Forum, which is WEF, predicted cyber pandemic?
I think cyber pandemic, I'm not familiar with this particular thing, but just as general, cybercrime is going to get worse and worse and worse. One of the things we made sure we did with our retirement plan B customers is we got the best in security, like Andreas Antonopoulos, to come along and make sure everyone has a solid foundation in their personal cybersecurity. The good news is that there's probably only 90% of your security is a function of doing a few things well, like unique passwords for everything, using two-factor authentication, not using SMS two-factor authentication, but apps like Google Authenticator, and then in case of private keys, using things like simple setups with hardware wallets. Just using these simple rules can significantly increase the risk. But cybercrime is the crime of the future. It can only go up, and unfortunately, fortunately, the skills of protecting your money with Bitcoin means that you have to learn the skills of protecting everything else that can be subject to cyber criminals. But I do think that, cybercrime is a major problem, and it's only going up, and everybody needs to learn how to implement basic security mechanisms, which takes care of 90% of the issues.
I think this, you've been working out very hard, Simon. So we've got a question here. Are you feeling tired every day after working out?
I'm actually not. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not completely exhausted during the workout, because I am pushing myself to the limit. And I have my virtual personal trainer that's kicking my ass on the big screen while I'm doing it, following the program. But let's finish off here then. So we'll end off, because this is the final episode on this channel. I set myself a 90-day challenge. So for those of you that don't follow me on Twitter, head over to Twitter, and I have been covering one question every day on Twitter as a video, more short-form content, 5 to maximum of 15 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes. And you can see me there on a complete 60, what are we on, Azad? 58-day journey that I've been on so far, where I'm checking in each and every day and answering one of your questions. But you can see the results that I've been achieving. I am holding myself accountable on Twitter to a 90-day challenge to get myself addicted to health and go through a body transformation. I've been experiencing a radical increase in energy, and I hope that you are experiencing that as I'm delivering my message, because part of the goal of this was to be able to deliver a message with more energy, more congruency, so that I could reach more people, and starting to really experience energy increases. I've been also doing fasting, eating one meal a day, and I've been doing 60 days of cardio, checking in after the workout, and then I'm going to be moving over to 30 days of strength building and weight training in the gym. Did a bit of tour of the gym for those of you that are interested in this. And thank you to everybody on those days when I just didn't want to do it, or I thought I was too busy, or I had not got enough sleep or something like that. Your Twitter and you holding me accountable made sure that I actually got in there and did those things. So really appreciate all of you. Please do follow me on Twitter at Simon Dixon Twit, because then we can continue this for the next 30 days and you can get those questions answered, because this is the last episode like this in this format of Simon Dixon Live. It's been an incredible journey together. I really thank everybody that took us from 6,000 subscribers to 60,000 subscribers and beyond. And Azad for all the hard work that he's been doing, pushing that, moderating this, and getting us to the next stage. But guess what? It moves over to the Bank to the Future YouTube channel, focus more on investing. And every time we want to do a more economic broadcast, you've got the next 30 days of me on Twitter. And we can also do emergency broadcasts when subjects become very popular. But head over to the Bank to the Future YouTube channel now, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell symbol, hit all. And from next week, this time, we'll be going live with an episode of Bank to the Future Live, BF Live. So that's going to do it. That was a really, really great question and answers session. So yeah, those are the different ways of continuing the free 4-part video series still on retirementplanb.com. Free digital copy of the book, Bank to the Future, the first published book in the world to include Bitcoin, at retirementplanb.com/book. If you'd like to be pre-notified to be the next round of Retirement Plan B customers, go over to retirementplanb.com/sign_up. And if you'd like this journey to continue, we're moving over to Twitter. Follow me on Twitter and subscribe to the Bank to the Future YouTube channel. And Azad's seeing if he can keep up with me with all these different links. Over and out. If you didn't catch all that, listen to the recording, like and share if you're watching the recording, and I'll jump into the comments and read those comments as well. Always remember, you are alive at one of the most interesting and exciting times in financial history. I want to make sure that you're on the right side of the change. So that's going to be over and out. And I want to make sure that you keep on the right side of those change. That's it for Simon Dixon Live. Thank you, everybody.